Julian Vane is currently kneeling in the mud. He is under the same bridge where he once spat on me. He has no name. He has no money. He has no life. I took it all in exactly 60 minutes. 10 years ago, he called me a ghost. He kicked my only blanket into the river and laughed while his towers touched the clouds. He thought he was erasing a homeless man. He did not realize he was poking a sleeping giant. He ignored the rusted key in my hand. He missed the serial number on my sleeve. Julian did not know that the very land his billion-dollar empire sits on belongs to a ghost. And today, I am coming to collect the rent. This is the story of how a man with nothing erased a man with everything. Watch closely. By the end of this story, you will see exactly how to checkmate a billionaire with a single signature. The concrete does not breathe. It only absorbs the cold. Under the underpass of the 4th Street Bridge, the air is thick with the scent of wet asphalt and old regrets. Elias sits on a crate that once held oranges. His fingers are cracked and stained with the soot of 1,000 passing exhausts. But his hands are steady. In his right hand, he holds a piece of tattered velvet. In his left, a single, rusted brass key. He does not look at the cars screaming above him. He does not look at the city skyline that glitters like a broken promise. He only looks at the key. It is heavy. It's cold. It is the only thing the world could not take from him. Every day, he polishes it. He rubs the velvet against the metal until the rust screams. He imagines the sound of a lock turning. He imagines the click of a heavy door opening into a world where he was someone. The wind under the bridge carries the smell of the river. It is a sharp, metallic scent. It reminds him of the life he lost. It reminds him of the day the ink dried on the papers that erased his name. He is a ghost living in a tomb made of stone and shadow. But ghosts have memories. And this key is his only tether to the sun. Suddenly, the rhythm of the city changes. The roar of the traffic is drowned out by the sound of heavy machinery. Blue smoke from diesel engines drifts under the bridge. It chokes the air. Elias does not move. He continues to polish. He feels the vibrations in the ground. The earth is trembling. It is the sound of progress. It is the sound of Julian Vane. Julian Vane does not walk. He conquers. His shoes are made of Italian calfskin. They cost more than the bridge Elias calls home. Julian stands at the edge of the dirt, looking at the construction site for the Legacy Tower. To him, the world is a map, and he's the only one allowed to hold the pen. Julian's cologne precedes him. It is the scent of vetiver, sandalwood, and unearned confidence. He steps over a puddle of oily water. He looks at the bridge. He looks at the trash cluttering his view. His eyes land on Elias. To Julian, Elias is not a man. He is a smudge on a clean window. He is a variable that needs to be deleted. Julian checks his watch. It is a Patek Philippe. The gold reflects the harsh morning sun. It is a reminder that his time is worth millions. Elias's time is worth nothing. Julian walks toward the bridge. He is followed by a swarm of men in hard hats. They carry blueprints and tablets. They carry the power to move mountains. Elias feels the shadow fall over him. It is a cold shadow. It smells of expensive cigars and cold boardrooms. He does not look up. He keeps his head down. He continues to polish the brass key. The velvet is thin now. It is almost transparent. But he does not stop. Julian stops 3 feet away. He looks at the small pile of Elias's life. A tattered blanket. A plastic bag of dry bread. A framed photograph with a cracked glass. The photograph shows a man in a high-collared suit. The man looks like Elias, but the man in the photo has eyes that own the horizon. Julian sneers. The expression is practiced. It is the face he makes when he sees a bug in his penthouse. He looks at his head of security. He points a manicured finger at the pile of belongings. He says nothing. He doesn't have to. The head of security moves forward. But Julian stops him. Julian wants to feel it himself. He wants to feel the power of erasure. He steps forward. His leather shoe connects with the plastic bag. The bread spills out into the dirt. Elias's hands stop moving. The key is hidden in his palm. Julian kicks the blanket. It slides across the gravel. Then he reaches for the photograph. He picks it up with 2 fingers as if it is infected. He looks at the face in the glass. He doesn't recognize it. He doesn't want to. He drops the frame onto the concrete. The glass shatters. The sound is like a gunshot in the silence of the bridge. Elias remains still. He is a statue of grief. His chest is tight. The air feels like broken glass in his lungs. He hears the river churning nearby. The water is high. The water is hungry. Julian looks at the pile of rags Elias calls a bed. With a sudden violent motion, Julian kicks the bundle. It rolls toward the edge of the embankment. It falls. There is a splash. The river swallows the blanket. The river swallows the memories. Julian turns to Elias. He expects a plea. He expects a cry for mercy. He expects the man to beg for $1. But Elias is silent. He is so silent that it makes Julian uncomfortable. Julian narrows his eyes. He looks at the tattered sleeve of Elias's coat. The coat is a wreck. It is held together by grime and stubbornness. But the left sleeve is pulled back. Just above the wrist, there is a small rectangular patch of white fabric sewn into the lining. It looks out of place. It looks clean. On that patch, there is a serial number. It is printed in black, indelible ink. Julian looks at the numbers. 0201 STRLAG. The numbers mean nothing to Julian. Not yet. He thinks it is a prison ID. He thinks it is the mark of a mental patient. He laughs. It is a short, sharp sound. It is the sound of a man who thinks he has one before the game has even started. Clean this up, Julian says to his men. I want this site pristine for the ribbon cutting. I don't want to see a single trace of this garbage when the cameras arrive. Julian turns his back. He walks away. He is already thinking about the champagne. He is already thinking about the speech he will give about building the future. He does not notice the way Elias's grip tightens on the brass key. Elias watches Julian's back. He watches the way the billionaire's shoulders move with the weight of his own ego. Elias slowly stands up. His joints pop. His body is old. His body is tired. But his eyes are not. His eyes are 2 cold coals burning in the dark. He looks at the river. His life is floating away. His past is sinking into the mud. He has nothing left. No blanket. No bread. No photograph of the father who built the foundation Julian is standing on. But he has the key. He looks down at his sleeve. He looks at the serial number. The Sterling mark. It is not a prison ID. It is not a mark of shame. It is the internal code for the Sterling Land Trust. It is the code for the ground beneath the Legacy Tower. It is the code for the very air. Julian Vane is breathing. The ribbon cutting is in 3 hours. Julian thinks he is opening a building. He doesn't realize he is opening a trap. He doesn't realize that the man he just kicked into the dirt is the only person on earth. Who can sign the deed to the city's heart? Elias puts the key into his pocket. It feels heavy now. It feels like a weapon. He begins to walk. He does not walk like a vagrant. He walks with a purpose. He walks with the weight of a century of bloodline secrets behind him. The city noise swells. The traffic screams. The machinery grinds. But Elias hears something else. He hears the sound of a system starting to fail. He hears the sound of a debt coming due. Julian Vane thinks he erased a man. He doesn't know he just activated a nightmare. He doesn't know that the trash he disposed of is the architect of his own. Destruction. As Elias reaches the edge of the bridge, he stops. He looks back at the shattered glass of the photograph. He whispers a single word. It is a name. A name the world hasn't heard in 20 years. A name that makes banks tremble and empires crumble. He turns toward the city center. The sun is high now. It reflects off the glass of the half-finished Legacy Tower. It looks like a pillar of gold. But Elias knows the truth. He knows what is buried in the foundation. He knows what the brass key unlocks. Julian Vane is about to learn that you can kick a man. You can take his bed. You can drown his history in the river, but you should never, ever touch his legacy, because when the chairman of the shadows decides to come home, he doesn't use the front door. He uses the key that has been waiting in the dark for a lifetime. The clock is ticking. The cameras are being set up. The elite of the city are putting on their silk ties and diamond earrings. They think they are coming to a celebration. They are coming to a funeral. And Elias is the one who will deliver the eulogy. Vane Plaza does not have a soul. It only has a temperature. The air inside is exactly 68 degrees. It smells of white lilies and expensive floor wax. The lobby is a cathedral of glass and ego. Every step Elias takes on the polished marble echoes like a heartbeat. He looks down at his boots. They are caked in dry river mud. He is a stain on a masterpiece of architecture. But he does not stop walking. The automatic doors behind him hiss shut. The sound is like a serpent. It seals the noise of the city away. Outside there is wind and hunger. Inside there is silence and wealth. A massive chandelier hangs from the ceiling. It holds 10,000 crystals. It looks like a frozen explosion of light. Elias feels the weight of the brass key in his pocket. It is the only heavy thing in this world of hollow glass. The security guards watch him immediately. They are thick-necked. Men in tailored suits. They carry earpieces and cold eyes. They move toward him before he can reach the reception desk. Their shoes click on the stone. It is a sharp, aggressive sound. Elias keeps his hands visible. He does not want to fight. He only wants what was stolen. Beyond the security line, the gala is in full swing. It is Julian Vane's 45th birthday. The lobby has been transformed into a ballroom. Men in tuxedos drink champagne that costs more than a car. Women in silk gowns trail the scent of jasmine and arrogance. They laugh at jokes that are not funny. They talk about stocks and acquisitions. They do not see the man in the tattered coat. Or perhaps they choose not to. Elias stops. He stands in the center of the lobby. He is a jagged rock in a stream of silk. He sees Julian. The billionaire is standing on a small stage near the elevators. He is holding a glass of vintage scotch. He is surrounded by cameras and admirers. He is the son of this small artificial universe. Julian is smiling. It is the smile of a shark. He looks at his reflection in the glass walls. He sees power. He sees a legacy. He does not see the foundation he destroyed to get here. Elias moves forward. The security guards block his path. Their chests are like walls. "I need to speak with Mr. Vane," Elias says. His voice is raspy. It sounds like gravel shifting under a heavy boot. It is a real sound in a room full of fake ones. The guards do not answer. They only stare. One of them reaches for his belt. "Tell him it is about the photograph," Elias continues. "The one from the bridge. The one he broke." Julian notices the commotion. He looks over the heads of his guests. His smile does not fade. It only changes. It becomes something sharper, something more dangerous. He whispers to an assistant. He nods toward Elias. The crowd parts like the Red Sea. They move back as if Elias is carrying a plague. They pull their expensive skirts away from his dusty boots. The air suddenly feels colder. The music stops. The only sound is the hum of the air conditioning. It sounds like a low mechanical growl. Julian steps off the stage. He walks toward Elias with a slow, rhythmic grace. His leather shoes are silent now. He stops 6 feet away. He takes a sip of his scotch. He looks at Elias's dirty face. He looks at the grime under his fingernails. "The ghost has returned," Julian says. His voice is smooth. It carries across the room. The guests chuckle. It is a polite, cruel sound. "I don't want your money, Julian," Elias says. "I want the picture of my father. The one you kicked into the dirt. It belongs to me." Julian tilts his head. He looks amused. He looks at the woman standing next to him. She is wearing a diamond necklace that could feed a village for a decade. She winces at the sight of Elias. "You came to my birthday gala for a scrap of paper?" Julian asks. He laughs. It is a loud, booming sound that echoes off the glass. You broke into my building to ask for trash. Do you have any idea how much this floor costs per square inch? The land doesn't belong to you, Elias says quietly. The room goes silent. The guests exchange nervous glances. Julian's eyes narrow. The shark has found a drop of blood. This building is mine, Julian whispers. This city is mine. And you. You are a trespassing vagrant. You are an eyesore on my special day. Julian turns to the head of security. The man's name is Marcus. Marcus is a veteran. He has seen things that would keep most men awake at night. He is standing directly behind Elias. "Kuz," Julian says, "it is my birthday. I don't want to see this trash in my lobby anymore. Call the police. Have him arrested for criminal trespassing and attempted extortion." Julian leans in closer to Elias. He smells of high-end, tobacco and malice. "I didn't just break that picture. Elias," Julian whispers so only they can hear. "I burned it. I watched the image of your father curl into ash. Just like I'm going to watch you disappear into a cell." Julian stands back. He raises his glass to the crowd. "Dispose of the trash," Julian commands. The police arrive in minutes. The sirens scream outside. The blue and red lights flash through the glass walls. They paint the lobby in the colors of a crime scene. The guests watch with fascination. They take photos with their gold-plated phones. They see a spectacle. They do not see a man being stripped of his last shred of dignity. Two officers grab Elias by the arms. They pull his hands behind his back. The steel of the handcuffs is cold. It bites into his wrists. Elias does not fight. He does not struggle. He stands tall. He looks Julian directly in the eye. Julian is laughing again. He is enjoying the show. He puts his arm around his beautiful companion. He feels invincible. Marcus, the head of security, steps forward to help the officers lead Elias away. He grabs Elias by the shoulder. He is about to push him toward the door. Elias stops. He leans his head toward Marcus's ear. The room is loud now. The music has started again. The guests are talking, but Elias speaks in a frequency that cuts through the noise. He whispers a date, November 12th, 1994. Marcus freezes. His hand on Elias's shoulder begins to tremble. The color drains from his face. It doesn't just fade. It vanishes. He looks like a man who has just seen his own executioner. Marcus looks at Elias, truly looks at him. He sees the serial number on the sleeve. He sees the calm in Elias's eyes. He knows that date. He was there. He knows what happened in the basement of the old Sterling warehouse. He knows who gave the order. And he knows who survived. "Move him," Julian shouts from the stage. He is annoyed that the show is taking too long. "Get him out of here." Marcus does not move. He is paralyzed. His eyes are wide. He looks at Julian. Then he looks back at Elias. The police tug at Elias's arms. They drag him toward the glass doors. "You're making a mistake," Elias says. He isn't looking at the police. He is looking at Marcus. As the doors hiss open to the cold night air. Elias turns his head one last time. Tick-tock. "Julian," he says. The doors close. Inside the lobby, Julian laughs and orders another round of drinks. He thinks the problem is gone. He thinks the system has protected him. But Marcus is still standing in the center of the marble floor. He is staring at the spot where Elias stood. His hands are shaking so hard he has to hide them in his pockets. He knows what is coming. He knows that the date Elias whispered wasn't just a memory, it was a death warrant. For the Vane Empire. The silence in the penthouse is heavy. It is the kind of silence that precedes a landslide. Julian Vane stands at the window. The city of London glitters below him like a pile of stolen diamonds. He holds a glass of vintage cognac. The amber liquid catches the moonlight. It is beautiful. It is expensive. It looks like liquid gold. But the gold is turning to lead. The gala downstairs is a memory. The smell of perfume and expensive cigars has been replaced by the scent of ozone. A storm is coming. Julian feels it in his bones. He feels it in the way the air in the room has turned thin. His phone vibrates on the mahogany desk. The sound is like a hornet. It is sharp. It is invasive. Julian does not move. He watches the reflection of the phone in the glass. He knows who is calling. He knows the news is not good. He finally turns. He picks up the device. The screen glow is harsh against his face. It is his chief financial officer. "Julian," the voice says. It is a whisper. "We have a problem. A catastrophic problem." Julian sips his drink. He tastes the oak. He tastes the age of the spirits. The construction loan. The $4 billion. It is gone, the CFO says. The bank pulled the plug at midnight. Every account associated with the Legacy Tower has been frozen. The funds are locked in a digital vault. We cannot touch a single dollar. Julian's grip tightens on the glass. The vein in his neck begins to throb. On what grounds? The contracts were ironclad. The insurance was verified. The steel is already in the ground. The land title, the voice on the phone replies. A red flag was raised in the global ledger. It is an encumbrance claim, an ancient one. It dates back 150 years, to the year 1875. Julian laughs. The sound is dry. It is the sound of a man who thinks he is watching a comedy. 1875. That is a glitch. That is a ghost in the system. Tell the bank to ignore it. They can't, the CFO says. The claim was filed through a bloodline trust. It is a preemptive strike. Under the old laws of the city, a bloodline trust takes precedence over any corporate deed. The title to the land beneath the tower is now under dispute. Legally, you are building on stolen ground. Julian sets the glass down. He does not feel the coldness of the marble. He feels the heat rising in his chest. Who filed it? Which bank is trying to squeeze me? That is the thing, Julian, the voice says. It is not a bank. It is not an institution. It is an individual. A single person has been sitting on this claim for decades. They waited until the foundations were poured. They waited until you were at your most vulnerable. Julian stares at the city skyline. He looks at the skeletal frame of the Legacy Tower. It stands half-finished. It looks like a cage. A $4 billion cage. The name, Julian whispers. Give me the name of the individual. The name on the ledger is blocked by a privacy shroud, the CFO says. But the legal representative is the Sterling Group. They sent a physical copy of the original deed to the central vault an hour ago. Julian feels the air leave his lungs. Sterling. The name echoes in the hollow chambers of his mind. He thinks of the bridge. He thinks of the man in the tattered coat. He thinks of the brass key. I want that deed, Julian snarls. I want to see the ink. I want to see the blood. The scene shifts. The Central Land Registry is a fortress. It is a building made of stone and shadows. It smells of old paper and stale dust. It is the place where the history of the city is kept. It is the place where fortunes are born and buried. Julian walks through the corridors. His shoes click on the stone. He is accompanied by 4 lawyers. They carry leather briefcases. They carry the power of the law. But here, in the heart of the archives, they look small. The archivist is an old man. He has skin like parchment. He wears white gloves. He does not look at Julian. He only looks at the ledger on the table. It is a massive book. It is bound in human leather. It is the history of the bloodlines. Page 412, the archivist says. His voice is like the rustling of dry leaves. Julian leans over the table. The lighting is dim. It is yellow and flickering. He looks at the entry that the ink is faded. But the handwriting is clear. It is elegant. It is the handwriting of a king. The entry states that the land beneath the center of the city was never sold. It was never traded. It was placed in a permanent trust, a trust that can only be unlocked by the holder of the brass key of Sterling. Julian's eyes scan the bottom of the page. He is looking for the signature of the current claimant. He's looking for the ghost who just paralyzed his empire. The name is written in fresh ink. It is bold. It is a signature that occupies the entire bottom margin. Julian reads the name. He reads it once. He reads it twice. The room begins to spin. The smell of the old paper becomes overwhelming. He feels like he is drowning in history. The name on the flag is not a ghost. It is a living man. The individual listed as the sole owner of the land title is Elias Sterling, the trash from the bridge. The man Julian had arrested only hours ago. The lawyers behind Julian start talking. They talk about adverse possession. They talk about statutes of limitations. But Julian does not hear them. He only hears the sound of Elias's voice from the lobby. Tick-tock, Julian. The clock is not just ticking. Its clock has stopped. Julian realizes the logic trap now. The construction loan was contingent on a clear title. Without a clear title, the bank has the right to seize Julian's personal assets as collateral by freezing the loan. The bank has triggered a domino effect. Julian's credit cards will be declined. His jets will be grounded. His penthouses will be padlocked. He is a billionaire on paper. But he is a beggar in reality. He reaches out to touch the ledger. His fingers tremble. "Don't," the archivist says. "That book is for the owners. And you, Mr. Vane, are currently a trespasser in this city." Julian turns to his lawyers. "Do something. Sue him. Erase the record." "We can't," the lead counsel says. He looks at the floor. This deed is the original charter of the city. To challenge this would be to challenge the existence of the city itself. If Elias Sterling owns the land, then you owe him 20 years of back rent plus interest. Julian feels a cold sweat break out on his forehead. The back rent alone would be billions. It would swallow his entire net worth. He thinks of Elias in the jail cell. He thinks of the man sitting on a metal bench wearing an orange jumpsuit. Elias is not a prisoner. Julian is. Julian is trapped in a web of his own greed. He built a tower on a foundation of lies. And now the true owner has come to collect the debt. The lights in the archive flicker. For a moment, Julian sees a shadow in the corner of the room. A tall, thin shadow. A shadow that looks like it is wearing a tattered coat. He blinks. The shadow is gone, but the smell remains. The smell of industrial soap and cheap jailhouse detergent. Julian stumbles out of the archives. He walks into the cold night air. His car is waiting. His driver opens the door. But as Julian reaches for the handle, his phone pings. It is a notification from his bank. Account status suspended. Reason: asset liquidation in progress. Julian looks at his driver. The driver looks back at him. The driver's eyes are cold. He has already heard the news. "I'm sorry, Mr. Vane," the driver says. He does not open the door. He gets into the car and drives away. Julian is left standing on the sidewalk. He is wearing a $3,000 suit. He has a Patek Philippe on his wrist. But he has no way to get home. The rain begins to fall. It is a cold, biting rain. It washes the expensive cologne off his skin. He looks down at the sidewalk. He sees the serial number etched into the stone of the curb. 001 STAOA1. The city is laughing at him. The buildings are closing in. Julian reaches into his pocket. He has no cash. He has no cards. He begins to walk. He walks toward the jail. He needs to talk. To the man he called trash, he needs to beg for his life. But as he nears the precinct, he sees a black sedan pulling away from the curb. The window rolls down. Inside the car sits Marcus, the head of security, and next to him, dressed in a fresh white shirt, is Elias. Elias looks at Julian. He does not smile. He does not gloat. He simply raises a single finger to his lips. Elias says. The car speeds away into the dark. Julian is left alone in the rain. The ghost in the ledger. It's won the first round, and the real nightmare is only just beginning. It is 2 a.m. The city is a graveyard of lights. Inside this 64th floor of the Vane legal headquarters, the air is freezing. It smells of burnt espresso and the metallic temps of a dying air conditioner. The fluorescent lights hum. It is a low, persistent buzz that vibrates in the teeth. Julian Vane is not sitting. He is pacing. His shoes click on the glass floor. Each sound is a hammer blow. His tie is ripped open. His silk shirt is damp with cold sweat. Across from him, 6 of the most expensive lawyers in the country are huddled. They are surrounded by mountains of paper. These are not digital files. These are the old deeds, the physical scrolls, the ink that was dry before Julian's father was born. The room feels small. The shadows in the corners seem to be leaning in, listening. Arthur, the lead counsel, removes his glasses. His eyes are bloodshot. His skin looks like wet parchment. He reaches for a leather-bound folder. The cover is cracked, smells of dust and centuries of secrets. He opens it slowly. The sound of the paper tearing is like a scream in the silent office. Julian stops pacing. He stands over Arthur. His breath is short. He smells the fear on his own skin. Arthur points to a single line of text. It is written in a cramped, elegant hand. The ink is iron gall. It has turned a dark, bruised purple over the decades. The Vane Tower is the jewel of the skyline. It cost $4 billion to dream, cost 10 years to build. It stands on the corner of Prime and Heritage. It's the most expensive soil in the world. Julian thought he bought that soil. He thought the city council gave him the deed in exchange for a $100 million bribe. He was wrong. The document on the table is a 99-year land lease. It was signed in 1926. It was not a sale. It was a loan of the earth itself. The city did not own this land. They were only the caretakers. The lease was a tether. And tonight, the tether has snapped. Julian looks at the date on his gold watch. It is past midnight. The date is November 12th. The lease expired 60 minutes ago. Julian's voice is a dry whisper. It sounds like dead leaves skittering on a sidewalk. He asks who owns the lease. He asks who the landlord is. Arthur does not answer immediately. He turns the page. There is a seal at the bottom. It is a coat of arms, shield with a rising sun and a heavy iron key. Below the seal, the name is printed in bold, archaic letters. The Sterling Foundation. Julian feels a cold spike of ice drive through his chest. The name Sterling is a ghost. It is a memory of a fallen empire. He thought he had buried that name 20 years ago. He thought he had erased every trace of that bloodline when he moved the money. But the foundation is a legal fortress. It is an entity that does not die. It only waits. It has been waiting for 99 years for this exact moment. Arthur speaks. His voice is trembling. It tells Julian that the land does not belong to the city. It does not belong to the Vane Corporation. Every brick of the Legacy Tower is now technically a trespasser. The glass, the steel, the marble lobby. It all sits on ground that has reverted to its original owner. Julian grabs the edge of the mahogany table. His knuckles are white. He tells Arthur to find the board members. He tells them to buy the foundation. He offers $1 billion. He offers 2. Arthur looks up. There's no hope in his eyes. There are no board members. Sterling Foundation is a private bloodline trust. It is governed by a single rule. It can only be managed by the last surviving member of the Sterling family. If there is no heir, the land goes to the state. But there is an heir. Arthur slides a second document across the table. It is a genealogical record. It is fresh. The ink is still moist. Was delivered to the office by a courier 10 minutes ago, at the bottom of the tree. There is a single name, Elias Sterling. The room goes silent. The only sound is the hum of the lights and the distant sound of a siren in the street below. Julian remembers the bridge. He remembers the smell of the river. He remembers the way Elias looked in the dirt. A man with no shoes. A man with a rusted brass key. A man Julian had kicked like a stray dog. He had that man arrested. He sent him to a cell with no windows. He told the police to dispose of the trash. And now that trash owns his empire. Julian realizes the magnitude of his mistake. He did not just insult a beggar. He insulted his landlord. He insulted the man who holds the power to demolish the legacy tower with a single signature. The legal reality is a guillotine. Under the terms of the 1926 lease, any structure built on the land during the lease period becomes the property of the landowner upon expiration, unless a renewal is signed. The tower is not Julian's anymore. The bank loans are still in his name. The $4 billion debt is his. But the asset belongs to Elias. Julian feels the room spinning. He reaches for his phone. He needs to call the precinct. He needs to get Elias out of that cell. He needs to apologize. He needs to crawl, but his phone is dead. He looks at the lawyers. They are packing their bags. They are not looking at him. They are looking at the door. They know the ship is sinking. They know that by sunrise, the Vane Corporation will be a hollow shell. Where are you going? Julian screams. His voice breaks. The lease has a vacancy clause, Julian, Arthur says. He doesn't call him Mr. Vane. The respect is gone. The owner has requested an immediate eviction of all corporate entities. We are leaving before the marshals arrive. Julian stands alone in his palace of glass. He looks out at the city. He sees the shadow of the bridge in the distance. He sees the dark water where he threw Elias's belongings. He thinks of the brass key. He finally understands what it was. It wasn't a keepsake. It wasn't a piece of junk. It was the key to the Sterling vault. The vault that held this very deed. Elias wasn't polishing rust. He was polishing his crown. Julian looks at the clock on the wall. The second hand moves with a heavy mechanical click. Every second is a dollar he will never see again. Every second is a step closer to his own destruction. He thinks of the date Elias whispered to Marcus. November 12th, the day the lease died. Elias knew. He had been counting the days for 20 years. He lived under the bridge just to watch the tower rise. He watched Julian build his own prison. Julian runs to the elevator. He hits the button. Nothing happens. The power to the private lift has been cut. He runs to the emergency stairs. He bursts through the door. The stairwell is a concrete throat. It smells of dust and silence. He begins to run down. 64 floors. His heart is drumming against his ribs. His lungs are burning. He reaches the 50th floor. Then the 40th. He is gasping for air. He trips and falls. His expensive suit trousers tear. His knee bleeds onto the concrete. He doesn't stop. He can't stop. He reaches the lobby. The lobby is dark. The white lilies are wilting in the heat. The smell of the expensive floor wax is gone. It smells like the river now. He sees a figure standing by the glass doors. It is Marcus, the head of security. He is wearing his uniform, but his badge is gone. He is holding a heavy ring of keys. Open the door, Marcus. Julian commands. He is leaning against the marble wall, shaking. Marcus doesn't move. He looks at Julian with a mixture of pity and fear. I don't work for you, Julian, Marcus says. His voice is hollow. The new owner called. He reminded me of the date. He reminded me of what I did in '94. I paid you. Julian screams. I made you rich. You paid me to be a monster, Marcus whispers. Elias paid me to be a witness. Marcus turns the lock. He steps outside into the night. He doesn't look back. Julian is trapped inside his own lobby. The glass walls that were meant to keep the world out are now keeping him in. He bangs on the glass. He screams at the empty street. The sun begins to peek over the horizon. The first light of dawn hits the top of the legacy tower. It should be the proudest moment of Julian's life. But as the light hits the glass, a black sedan pulls up to the curb. The door opens. A man steps out. He is wearing a dark tailored overcoat. He is clean-shaven. His hair is slicked back. He looks like a king returning from exile. It is Elias. He walks to the glass door. He looks at Julian through the transparent barrier. Julian is on his knees. He is begging. His lips are moving, but the glass is soundproof. Elias reaches into his pocket. He pulls out the brass key. It is no longer rusted. It shines like pure gold in the morning sun. He doesn't put the key in the lock. He doesn't have to. He holds up a single piece of paper. It is an eviction notice. It is signed by the High Court. Elias leans in close to the glass. His eyes are cold. They are the eyes of a man who has spent 20 years in the dark. He speaks. Julian can't hear the words, but he can read the lips. My father built the foundation. I own the dirt. And today, I am burying you in it. Elias turns and walks away. He doesn't look back at the tower. He doesn't look back at the man screaming behind the glass. The sirens are getting closer. The marshals are coming. The banks are calling. Julian Vane is the king of a mountain of debt. And the mountain is starting to crumble. But as the first police car rounds the corner, Julian sees something that stops his heart. Elias isn't just leaving. He is meeting someone. A woman steps out of the shadows. She is old. Her hair is white. She is holding a cane with a silver handle. Julian recognizes her. It is his own mother. The woman who supposedly died 10 years ago. The woman whose will gave Julian everything. She is smiling. She takes Elias's arm. The betrayal isn't just financial. It is biological. Julian realizes the midnight discovery. Wasn't the lease? The discovery is that he was never a Vane at all. The iron bars do not vibrate. They only hum with the sound of a falling empire. Julian Vane is finally standing on ground he cannot buy. The air inside the precinct cell is thick. It smells of industrial bleach, old sweat, and the metallic temps of fear. The walls are painted a sickly, institutional green. The paint is peeling. It looks like dead skin. Elias sits on the narrow metal bench. He does not move. He does not breathe heavily. He is a statue of patience. He is a man who has lived in the shadows for 20 years. To him, this cell is a palace compared to the cold concrete of the bridge. He looks at Julian. He sees the expensive silk tie. He sees the gold watch. He sees a man who is already a ghost. Julian's shoes are out of place here. The Italian leather clicks nervously on the cracked linoleum. He looks around the room with disgust. He reaches into his pocket. His hands are shaking. He pulls out a leather-bound checkbook. The pen he uses is made of solid platinum. The ink is black and thick. Julian begins to write. The scratching of the pen is the only sound in the room. It sounds like a needle on a broken record. He finishes the check. He tears it from the book with a sharp, aggressive snap. $1 million, Julian says. His voice is thin. It cracks like dry wood. Take it. Walk away. Leave the city. Buy yourself a new life. Buy yourself a new name. Just give me the deed. Julian holds the check out. The paper is blue. It looks like a small piece of the sky. It represents a life of ease. It represents luxury and safety. To anyone else, it would be a miracle. Elias looks at the check. He does not reach for it. He does not even blink. He waits. He lets the silence stretch. He lets Julian feel the weight of the air. Slowly, Elias reaches out. His fingers are rough. They are stained with the river mud that Julian tried to drown him in. He takes the check. Julian sighs. It is a sound of relief. Julian thinks he has one. He thinks everyone has a price. But Elias does not put the check in his pocket. He holds it between his thumb and forefinger. He looks Julian in the eye. Then he tears it. The sound is tiny. But in the silence of the cell, it sounds like a thunderclap. Elias tears the check into 2 pieces. Then 4, then 8. He lets the blue scraps fall to the floor. They look like confetti at a funeral. I don't want your money, Julian, Elias says. His voice is deep. It is slow. It carries the weight of 20 years of silence. I spent 20 years wanting my father back. Can you buy me that? I spent 10 years wondering why my mother's grave was empty. Can you buy me an answer? Julian steps back. He hits the iron bars of the cell door. The metal clangs. It is a hollow, mocking sound. You're insane, Julian whispers. You're a homeless lunatic. You have nothing. That check was your only chance. Elias stands up. He is taller than Julian. He is stronger. He is made of iron and regret. He steps into the light of the single, flickering bulb. I have the one thing you can't buy, Julian, Elias says. I have the truth. Elias reaches into his pocket. He does not pull out a weapon. He pulls out a small, yellowed piece of paper. It is a legal document. It is the secret weapon that has been hidden in the Sterling vault for a century. Do you know what adverse possession is, Julian? Elias asks. He speaks the words slowly. He wants Julian to taste them. Julian stares at the paper. He is a businessman. He knows the law. But he has always used the law as a shield. He has never seen it used as a sword. Under the Sterling Land Trust of 1875, Elias begins. There is a specific clause. It is the Bloodline Reversionary Act. It states that if the land is occupied by a fraudulent entity for more than 7,000 days, the owner has the right to reclaim not just the land, but everything built upon it, without compensation. Elias steps closer. He smells like the cold wind of the river. You've built the Vane Tower on my dirt, Elias says. You used my family's name to secure the loans. You used my mother's forged signature to claim the inheritance. That makes you a squatter, a high-end silk-wearing squatter. Julian's chest is tight. He feels the breath leaving his lungs. He feels the room getting smaller. My lawyers will fight this. Julian snarls. They will bury you in paperwork for a decade. So they already have the paperwork, Julian, Elias replies. Marcus delivered it to the High Court an hour ago, along with the testimony of the man who watched you forge the documents. 20 years ago, the head of security you thought you owned. Julian shakes his head. He refuses to believe it. He looks at the blue scraps of the check on the floor. He looks at the iron bars. The adverse possession clause is active now, Elias says. The clock started the moment I was arrested. You have exactly 24 hours to vacate the premises. The Vane Tower, the London penthouse, the offshore accounts, everything. Julian laughs. It is a high, panicked sound. You can't take the accounts. They are private. They were opened using the Sterling Trust as collateral, Elias says. And the trust is mine. If you are still in that building by midnight tomorrow, you lose the entire corporate portfolio. Every stock, every bond, every penny. It all reverts to the Sterling Foundation. You will be left with nothing but the suit on your back. Elias leans in. His face is inches from Julian's. I am giving you 24 hours to see what it feels like, Elias whispers. 24 hours to feel the world slipping through your fingers. 24 hours to realize that you are the trash now. Julian bangs on the cell door. He screams for the guard. He wants to get out. He needs to call his lawyers. He needs to move the money. The guard comes. He looks at Julian. He doesn't move quickly. He looks at Elias. He nods. The door is open, Mr. Vane, the guard says. His voice is cold. He doesn't call him sir. Julian rushes out of the cell. He doesn't look back. He runs down the hallway. He runs toward the exit. He runs toward the city that is no longer his. Elias remains in the cell. He sits back down on the bench. He looks at the blue scraps on the floor. He picks up one of the pieces. It has a 0 on it. He crushes it in his hand. The silence returns. The hum of the light is steady. The sound of the rain begins to drum against the small, high window of the cell. Elias closes his eyes. He is not thinking about the tower. He is not thinking about the money. He is thinking about the woman he saw at the curb. The woman with the white hair and the silver cane. He knows the 24 hours aren't. Just for Julian to lose his money, they are 4. Julian to find out who his mother really is and why she chose Elias over him. The leverage of the bloodline is not just about land. It is about a secret so deep it will crack the very foundation of the city. Julian is running toward his penthouse. He thinks he can save his empire. He doesn't know that the locks have already. It's been changed, and the person waiting for him inside is not a lawyer. It is a ghost. Julian Vane is sweating. The fabric of his bespoke suit feels like sandpaper against his skin. His empire is bleeding, and he is running out of bandages. He sits in the back of a taxi. The leather is cracked. The air smells of stale cigarettes and cheap air freshener. It is a far cry from the sandalwood and silk of his private limousine. He looks out the window at the city. The rain is a gray curtain. It blurs the edges of the skyscrapers he once thought he owned. Every streetlight looks like a judging eye. He feels the weight of the brass key in his mind. It is a ghost that haunts his every thought. He reaches into his pocket. His hand is trembling. He pulls out a secondary phone. It is a burner. It is the only way to reach the Shadow Council. These are the men who do not exist on paper. The senators, the judges, the men who trade in favors and bury the truth. Julian dials a number he has used only 3 times in 20 years. The ringing sound is sharp. It is rhythmic. It sounds like a heart monitor. "Fix it," Julian says as soon as the line picks up. He doesn't say hello. He doesn't give a name. The Sterling records. They need to vanish tonight. I don't care about the cost. Burn the ledger. Erase the digital footprint. Do it now. There is a long silence on the other end. Julian can hear the faint sound of a clock ticking. It is slow. It is heavy. Julian, a voice finally speaks. It is a voice like cold gravel. The wind has changed direction. The Sterling name is not a ghost anymore. It is a hurricane. We do not stand in the path of hurricanes. We hide from them. "I made you," Julian snarls. His grip on the phone is so tight his knuckles turn white. "I funded your campaigns. I covered your scandals. You owe me the dirt beneath your feet." "The dirt beneath our feet belongs to Elias Sterling," the voice replies. "We checked. You are a liability now, Julian. Do not call this number again." The line goes dead. The dial tone is a flat, mechanical scream. Julian throws the phone against the floor of the taxi. He is alone. The elite are not a circle. They are a pack of wolves, and they have smelled the blood on Julian Vane. He leans forward. He tells the driver to hurry. He is heading to the Hall of Records. It is a massive limestone fortress. It is the vault of the city's history. If the council will not help him, he will do it himself. He still has his master key. He still has the codes. He will walk into the basement and rip the pages out with his own hands. He will swallow the evidence if he has to. The taxi skids to a halt in front of the massive stone pillars. The Hall of Records looks like a temple. It is silent. It is imposing. The rain drums against the stone with a hollow sound. Julian leaps out of the car. He does not care about the puddles. He does not care about his shoes. He runs up the steps. His breath is a ragged whistle in his chest. He reaches the massive bronze doors. They are 12 feet high. They are a symbol of permanence. Julian reaches for the heavy iron handle. He expects it to turn. He expects the cool air of the archive to greet him. The handle does not move. Julian pulls harder. He throws his shoulder against the wood. The door is dead. It is bolted from the inside. He looks up. There is a sign hanging on the bronze. It is a simple piece of white cardstock. It looks out of place on such a grand entrance. Closed by order of the receiver. Julian stares at the words. The letters seem to dance in the rain. A receiver? The Hall of Records is a government building. It cannot be closed. It cannot be sold. He looks closer at the smaller text at the bottom. His eyes are burning. The rain is cold on his face. It's property acquired by the Sterling Foundation. Effective 4 a.m. Julian stumbles back. He falls onto the whetstone. He is breathing in the scent of damp earth and old iron. It is impossible. You cannot buy a government archive. You cannot shutter the history of a city unless you own the land Elias sits on. Elias didn't just reclaim the Vane Tower, he reclaimed the memory of the city. He bought the building to protect the proof. He turned the vault into a tomb for Julian's lies. Julian crawls back toward the door. He sees another document taped to the glass. It is the purchase agreement. It is a single page. It is the death warrant of the Vane legacy. Julian's eyes race to the bottom of the page. He is looking for the signature. He is looking for the ink that destroyed him. There is no ink dot in the space where the buyer should sign. There is a dark smudge-like mark. It is a thumbprint. It is not made of blue or black ink. It is gray. It is gritty. It is soot. Julian touches the mark with his finger. The residue comes off on his skin. It smells of wood smoke. It smells of the small fires Elias built under the bridge to stay alive. It is the signature of a man who was treated like ash. A man who has now returned to burn the world down. The thumbprint is a brand. It is a message. Elias did not use a pen because a pen is a tool of the elite. He used the soot from his poverty to seal the deal of his power. Julian feels a cold chill that has nothing to do with the rain. He looks at his own hands. They are clean. They are soft. They have never known the grit of the street. But they are shaking. He hears a sound behind him. It is the sound of a slow, rhythmic clapping. Julian turns. He is still on his knees. He looks through the rain toward the pillars. A figure is standing there. It is not Elias. It is a man in a gray uniform. A security guard for the new owners. The guard holds a heavy flashlight. He shines the beam directly into Julian's eyes. The light is blinding. It is a white wall of judgment. "The building is private property now, Mr. Vane," the guard says. His voice is flat. It has no pity. "You are trespassing." "I am Julian Vane." Julian screams into the light. "I built this city. I own the sky." "The sky is free," the guard replies. "But the ground is taken. Move along, before I call the marshals." Julian looks at the soot on his finger. He looks at the closed sign. He realizes that the Shadow Council didn't just abandon him. They were bought. Elias didn't just use the law. He used the very corruption Julian perfected. He stands up. His legs feel like water. He walks down the limestone steps. He feels like he is descending into a grave. The rain is coming down harder now. It is a deluge. It is a flood meant to wash away the sins of the Vane family. He reaches the sidewalk. He has no car. He has no phone. He has no friends. He is a billionaire standing in the rain, staring at a building he cannot enter. He thinks of the soot thumbprint. He realizes it wasn't just a signature for the building. It was a signature for his own life. He is being erased. Not by a judge, not by a bank, but by the very man he thought was invisible. The arrogant elite has not just fallen. He has been deleted from the record. As Julian walks away, he hears the sound of a heavy bolt sliding into place inside the Hall of Records. The sound echoes through the empty street. It is the sound of a door closing forever. He turns the corner. He is heading toward the boardroom. The final stand. The place where he thinks he still has a vote. He does not notice the black sedan following him at a distance. He does not notice the eyes watching him from the shadows of every alleyway. The city is no longer a map Julian owns. It is a maze Elias built. And at the center of the maze, there is a boardroom table. And on that table, there is a single, rusted brass key waiting for its rightful owner. Julian reaches the corporate headquarters. The lights are on. The top floor is glowing like a beacon. He thinks there is still a chance. He thinks his board of directors will save him. He pushes through the revolving doors. He does not stop for the reception. He runs to the private elevator. He reaches for his keycard, but the slot is gone in its place. There is a small circular hole, a hole for a brass key. The elevator is a silver box. It moves too fast. Julian Vane leans against the cold metal wall. His chest is a furnace. His lungs feel like they are full of broken glass. The numbers on the digital display flicker. 50th floor, 60th floor. Each beep is a countdown to his final stand. He adjusts his tie. The silk is damp with rain and sweat. He looks at his reflection in the polished steel. He sees a stranger. He sees a man with hollow eyes and a trembling jaw. He tries to swallow. His throat is a desert. The elevator stops. The chime is soft. It is the sound of a velvet execution. The doors hiss open. Usually, the hallway is bustling with assistants. They carry tablets. They carry coffee. They carry the worship Julian has lived on for 2 decades. But tonight, the hallway is a graveyard. The lights are dimmed to a haunting glow. The air is stagnant. It smells of ozone and electricity. Julian walks toward the double mahogany doors of the boardroom. These doors have always been his shield. Behind them, he is God. Behind them, he signs the papers that move mountains and drown families. He reaches for the brass handles. They are cold. They feel like ice. He pushes them open with the last of his strength. The room is dark. The only light comes from the moon through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city of London lies below. It is a carpet of flickering lights. But inside, the silence is absolute. It is a heavy, thick silence. It presses against his ears. Julian stops. He looks at the long marble table. His board of directors is already there. 12 men and women. They are the shadow council of his corporate empire. They are the people who helped him bury the Sterling legacy. Usually, they greet him with nods of submission. Today, they do not move. They are statues carved from shadow. Their faces are pale in the moonlight. Their eyes are fixed on the end of the table. Julian looks at the head of the table. The great chair, his chair. It is made of black oxblood leather. It is high-backed. It is the throne of the Vane Empire. The chair is turned away from the room. It faces the window. It faces the skeletal frame of the Legacy Tower in the distance. Julian can see a silhouette. A man is sitting in his seat. The silhouette is tall. His shoulders are broad. He is perfectly still. Julian feels a wave of heat. It is rage. It is the desperation of a cornered animal. Who is this? Julian screams. His voice cracks. It echoes off the glass walls. Who authorized this? Marcus, security. Get this person out of my seat. None of the board members blink. They do not look at Julian. They look at the back of the chair. Julian walks toward the table. He slams his hand down on the marble. The sound is sharp. It is like a bone breaking. I called this emergency meeting. Julian snarls. I am the chairman. I own 51% of the voting rights. You cannot sit there. That seat belongs to a Vane. The silhouette does not flinch. But the air in the room begins to change. A new scent begins to drift across the table. It is not the scent of expensive cigars. It is not the scent of the white lilies Julian keeps in the lobby. It is sharp. It is chemical. It is abiding. Bitter smell. It is the smell of cheap, industrial soap. The blue liquid soap used in the city jails. The soap that strips the skin of its natural oils. The soap that smells like iron and punishment. Julian freezes. The scent hits his nostrils like a physical blow. He remembers that smell. He smelled it on his own hands 20 years ago. Before he fixed the records. Before he became a king, the chair begins to rotate. It moves slowly. The leather creaks. It is a long, drawn-out sound. It sounds like a door opening in a haunted house. The man in the chair comes into the light. He is wearing a suit that costs $10,000. The fabric is charcoal wool. It catches the moonlight like silk. His shirt is a crisp, blinding white. But his hands are resting on the table. They are clean, but the skin is red. It is raw from the scrub of the industrial soap. It is Elias, but it is not the Elias from the bridge. This man is a king. His hair is perfectly groomed. His eyes are 2 chips of obsidian. They are cold. They are deep. They contain the darkness of 20 years of exile. Elias does not speak. He simply looks at Julian. The silence is a weapon. It is a vacuum that sucks the air out of Julian's lungs. How? Julian whispers. The guards. The police. I had you locked away. Elias tilts his head. He picks up a single fountain pen from the table. It is Julian's pen. The platinum one. This system is a machine, Julian, Elias says. His voice is a low, melodic growl. It is the sound of a predator in the tall grass. You thought you owned the machine, but you only rented it, and the lease has expired. Elias taps the pen against the marble. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The board has already voted. Elias continues. They were very cooperative. Once they realized that the Sterling Foundation holds the debt on their personal estates, they chose survival over loyalty. Julian looks at the board members. One of them, a man named Holloway, slowly looks up. His eyes are wet with tears. He has everything, Julian, Holloway whispers. He has the photos. He has the bank records from '94. He has the recordings of the phone calls. Julian feels his knees buckle. He grabs the back of a chair to stay upright. That's impossible. Those records were destroyed. I saw the fire. You saw a fire, Elias says. He stands up. He moves with a grace that Julian has never seen. He walks around the table toward Julian. But you didn't see the vault. My father knew men like you would come. He didn't keep the truth in a computer. He kept it in the ground. The ground you tried to build your tower on. Elias stops inches away from Julian. The smell of the industrial soap is overwhelming now. It is the smell of the basement. It is the smell of the truth. You called this meeting to save your skin, Elias says. But look around you, Julian. There is no skin left to save. You are already flayed. You are already a ghost. Elias reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a small, rectangular piece of plastic. It is Julian's corporate ID card, the one that grants access to every server, every vault, every secret. Elias snaps the card in half. He lets the pieces fall onto Julian's shoes. The boardroom massacre is over, Elias whispers, and the winner has already been decided. Elias walks toward the mahogany doors. He does not look back. The board members stand up in unison. They follow him like a funeral procession. They leave Julian alone in the dark. Julian is left standing at the foot of his own table. He looks at the chair. He looks at the city. He realizes that the massacre wasn't a physical one. It was a digital, financial, and spiritual execution. He hears a sound coming from the speakers in the ceiling. It is a recording. It is the sound of a man's voice. His father's voice. If you are hearing this, it means the Sterling key has been turned. Julian falls to his shadows. The recording continues. But as the voice speaks, Julian hears something else. He hears the sound of a heavy metal door slamming shut, not in the boardroom, but in the basement of the building. The building is being sealed. Julian Vane is not a man anymore. He is a collection of broken data. He stands in the center of the boardroom. The lights are blinding. They hum with a cold, electronic hunger. The scent of industrial soap is fading. It is being replaced by the smell of overheated servers and ozone. Julian feels a sharp pain in his chest. It is a tight, constricting pressure. His heart is a drum beating against a wall of ice. He looks at Elias. Elias is not smiling. He is simply watching. He is watching the digital death of a titan. Elias speaks. His voice is a low, steady vibration. It fills the space like thick smoke. He tells Julian that taking the tower was only the beginning. It was the bait. The shiny object Julian couldn't resist. But while Julian was fighting for the bricks and the mortar, Elias was hunting for the blood. He was hunting for the debt. Julian reaches for his phone. His fingers are numb. He can barely feel the glass. The screen glows. It is a sea of red. Notification after notification. They pop up like blisters. Account suspended. Access denied. Identity unverified. The sound of the pings is rhythmic. It is a digital funeral march. Elias explains the logic trap. He tells Julian about the offshore creditors, the shadow banks in the Cayman Islands, the private lenders in Zurich. Julian had used them to fund his legacy. He thought they were his secret weapons. He thought their anonymity was his shield. He was wrong. The Sterling Foundation has been quiet for 20 years. But it has not been idle. Elias has spent 2 decades buying. He didn't buy stocks. He bought Julian's liabilities. He bought the toxic debt Julian hid in the dark. Every loan, every margin call, every secret agreement. Elias owns them all now. Julian's breath is a ragged whistle. He tries to speak, but his tongue is a heavy weight in his mouth. He asks, how? He asks why. Elias stands up. He walks to the massive window. He looks out at the city that no longer recognizes Julian's name. He tells Julian that every dollar he spent was a tether, and Elias just pulled the rope. With one phone call, Elias triggered the non-compliance clause. It is a specific, brutal piece of legal engineering. It states that if the collateral for the debt is found to be fraudulent, the creditor has the right to immediate liquidation. Since the land title was a lie, the collateral is 0. Julian watches his phone screen. His primary bank account is the first to go. $400 million. It doesn't just transfer, it vanishes. The numbers on the screen roll backward. They hit 0. Then they turn gray. The account is liquidated for non-compliance. Then come the credit cards. The black cards. The platinum cards. The symbols of his status. They are deactivated in real time. The digital signatures are revoked. Julian reaches into his pocket. He feels the plastic cards. They are just pieces of garbage now. They are worthless. But the erasure goes deeper. Elias looks at Julian. His eyes are 2 chips of obsidian. He tells Julian that the system he built to hide his crimes is the same system that is now erasing him. Julian's digital identity is being scrubbed. His social security number is flagged. His passport is canceled. His driver's license is a dead link in a government database. Julian Vane is becoming a ghost. He tries to call his lawyer. The call won't go through. The service provider has terminated his contract. He is non-compliant. He tries to log into his private server. The password is invalid. The biometric scanner on the door doesn't recognize his thumbprint. To the building. He is a stranger. He is a trespasser. The sound of the city outside seems to grow louder. The roar of the traffic. The scream of the sirens. It is the sound of a world that is moving on without him. Julian looks at his hands. They are shaking. He feels transparent. He feels like if he stepped into the light, he would disappear completely. The board members are gone. The room is empty. The silence is a heavy, suffocating blanket. Elias is the only real thing left in Julian's world. And Elias is the man who just deleted him. Elias reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a small black device. It is a signal jammer. He turns it off. The room feels even colder. You built a palace of glass, Julian, Elias says. His voice is a whisper that cuts through the silence. But you forgot that glass is transparent. I saw everything. I saw the greed. I saw the betrayal. And now, I have seen the end. Julian stumbles toward the door. He needs to get out. He needs to find a way to stop this. But the elevator won't come for him. The security guards won't look him in the eye. He is a man with a face but no name. A man with a body but no record. He reaches the lobby. The marble is cold under his feet. He sees the receptionist, a woman who has smiled at him every morning for 5 years. He walks up to the desk. He opens his mouth to speak. The woman looks up. She looks right through him. "Can I help you, sir?" she asks. Her voice is polite. It is professional. It is the voice she uses for strangers. "It's me," Julian gasps. "Julian Vane. I own this building." The woman checks her computer. She frowns. "I'm sorry, sir. There is no one by that name in our system, and the building is owned by the Sterling Foundation. Do you have an appointment?" Julian feels a wave of nausea. His stomach turns. The room begins to spin. The systemic erasure is complete. He is a ghost in his own hallway. He is a shadow in his own light. He walks out into the rain. The cold water hits his face. It feels like needles. He stands on the sidewalk. He watches the people go by. No one looks at him. No one recognizes the man who was the king of the city only an hour ago. He reaches into his pocket for the last time. He finds a single, rusted brass key. He doesn't know how it got there. He doesn't remember Elias giving it back. He looks at the key. It is the only thing he has left. He hears a car pull up to the curb. It is a black sedan. The window rolls down. Inside sits the old woman with the white hair. Julian's mother, the woman who lied about her death, the woman who gave Elias the map to Julian's destruction. She looks at him. She doesn't offer him a ride. She doesn't offer him a coat. "The debt is paid, Julian," she says. Her voice is soft. It is the voice of a mother telling a story to a child. But the interest is just beginning. The car drives away. The red taillights disappear into the gray rain. Julian stands under the bridge where he once kicked a homeless man's belongings into the river. He looks at the dark water. He looks at the rusted key. He is not a billionaire. He is not a chairman. He is just a man in a wetsuit, standing on the dirt. But as he looks at the key, he notices a small, new tag attached to it. It is an address for a place. He hasn't been in 40 years. The place where the real secret is buried. The rain is not a cleansing thing. It is a weight. It presses down on the 4th Street Bridge with a cold, relentless hand under the massive concrete arches. The air is stagnant. It smells of damp earth, old iron, and the sharp, sour scent of human desperation. Julian Vane sits on a crate that once held oranges. His boots are not made of Italian calfskin anymore. They are plastic. They are cracked. They are held together by gray tape and prayers. Julian's hands are not steady. They are blue from the wind. They are caked with the grime of a city that has forgotten him. He holds a paper cup. It is soggy. It is empty. He looks at the feet of the people passing by. He sees the leather. He sees the suede. He sees the movement of a world that deleted him. He is a ghost in the system he once commanded. He is a non-person. A flicker of data that was erased by a thumbprint in soot. The sound of the river behind him is high. It is a low, roaring hum. It sounds like the heartbeat of the city, a heart that beats for the strong, a heart that has no pulse for the fallen. Julian looks up at the skyline. The Legacy Tower stands there. It is a pillar of gold and light. It is beautiful. It is perfect. And it belongs to the man he called Trash. The wind under the bridge carries the scent of expensive exhaust. It is a smell Julian knows well. It is the smell of power. It is the smell of a black sedan pulling off the main road. The tires crunch on the gravel. The sound is sharp. It is deliberate. Julian does not look up at first. He is afraid to see what he has lost. The car stops 10 feet away. It is a masterpiece of engineering. It is black. It is silent. It is a shadow that has taken form. The rain slides off the polished paint like tears. The engine purrs with a low, dangerous rhythm. It is the sound of a predator at rest. The back window begins to descend. The motor is silent. The air from inside the car drifts out. It smells of sandalwood. It smells of expensive parchment. It smells of a life that Julian can only remember in his dreams. Julian slowly raises his head. His eyes are hollow. His face is a map of 1,000 defeats. He sees the man in the back seat. Elias is sitting there. He is not the man from the bridge. He is the shadow ruler. He is wearing a bespoke suit. It is charcoal. It is perfect. The fabric costs $10,000. His shirt is a blinding, clinical white. He looks like a deity who has stepped out of a vault. His face is calm. His eyes are cold. They are two pieces of obsidian that reflect the gray sky. Elias does not speak. He does not need to. The silence between them is a canyon. It is a debt that can never be paid. He looks at Julian. He looks at the paper cup. He looks at the crate. He sees the reflection of his own past. But he does not feel pity. He only feels the weight of justice. Elias reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a single object. He holds it between his thumb and forefinger. It is a brass key. It is the same key Julian once mocked. The same key that Elias polished every day in the dirt. It is no longer rusted. It has been restored. It shines with a pale, golden light. Elias rolls his hand over. He drops the key. The metal hits Julian's palm. It is heavy. It is freezing. It is a piece of the history Julian tried to burn. Julian stares at the key. He feels the ridges. He feels the cold. He feels the irony. "The bridge is yours now," Elias says. His voice is deep. It is slow. It carries the authority of a man who owns the ground beneath them. It is a prime location. High visibility. Low overhead. Elias leans forward. He looks at the pile of rags Julian has gathered. The plastic bags. The tattered blanket. "Don't let the trash build up," Elias whispers. The words are a knife. They are the same words Julian spoke when he kicked Elias's belongings into the river. The circle is complete. The system has finished its rotation. Elias sits back into the leather. He looks at the driver. "Drive," he says. The window rolls up. The glass is tinted. It is a wall. It is a boundary. Julian is left standing in the rain. He is holding the key to a world he will never enter again. The sedan moves away. It disappears into the gray curtain of the storm. Julian looks at the key. He looks at the bridge. He realizes the truth. Elias didn't just take his money. He didn't just take his name. He took his soul. He left him the key to remind him of the door that is now locked forever. Julian stands alone. The traffic above him screams. The river behind him roars. He reaches for his crate. He reaches for his blanket. He begins to arrange his belongings in the dirt. He is the new caretaker of the shadows. But as he settles into the cold, he hears a sound. It is the sound of a second car stopping. A silver car. A door opens. Julian looks up. He expects the police. He expects the marshals. But he sees a woman. She is young. She is wearing a simple black dress. She is holding a folder. She walks toward him. She does not look disgusted. She looks at him with a strange, clinical fascination. "Mr. Vane?" she asks. Julian does not answer. He cannot remember how to use his name. "The Sterling Foundation has a message for you," she says. She drops the folder onto his crate. She turns and leaves. Julian opens the folder. His fingers are shaking. The paper is dry. It smells of fresh ink. Inside. There is a single skirt photograph. It is a photo of the basement of the Legacy Tower in the center of the floor. There is a vault. And on the door of the vault, there is a name written in blood. It is Julian's real name, the name his mother never told him, the name that links him to the Sterling bloodline. Julian realizes the shadow ruler didn't just win a war, he won a family, and Julian is the only one who doesn't know who he really is. He holds the brass key to his chest. He closes his eyes. The story is over. But the nightmare has just found a new home.